Bonjour everyone, my name is Valerie Marin. I'm an integrative nutrition coach, and as part of my job, I help individuals achieve their wellness goal and find better nutrition. So that's when I found Thermomix. A few years ago, I went to my mom and she said to me, I found something amazing to cook. And I said, what is that? She said, I have a Thermomix. And I said to her, Mommy, Thermomix is actually for people who don't like to cook or who don't know to cook. I love to cook and I love to chop and I love to stir, so I don't think this is for me. So she invited me to a demo, and when I saw how they made the sorbet, that was so amazing that I bought my Thermomix straight away. And today, as part of my job, I actually recommend the Thermomix to my clients who want to find better nutrition, because I find this is a fantastic tool to actually make your own food, control what you put in your food, and, generally speaking, have a better health. So today, I'm going to introduce two recipes. They are from my country, I'm French, and they are very dear to me because those are the pastries that I used to eat when I was a little girl. They are not what I would call the healthiest because they contain sugar, but as part of an integrative nutrition coach, we teach people about balance. You have to watch what you eat, and that's when Thermomix comes into place. You can control less sugar, you can control less fat, you can steam, you can control the temperature at which you cook your food, but what is very important is also to find the pleasures of life. And that's why having a pastry once in a while is also something that you can enjoy and that makes you very happy. So today I'm going to cook Madeleines. This is a pastry that everybody in France knows, and we love to eat that. And also I'm going to cook something that's a bit more specific. It's Cannelé. So for the little story, Cannelé comes from Bordeaux, and I'm actually originating from Bordeaux. I lived there, and I was actually there before I moved to Singapore 20 years ago. So that's something also that's very dear to my heart. So today I'm happy to share with you how to make that. I'm going to share my tips and my own recipe using the Thermomix. So enjoy my tutorial, and I hope to see you practice and send me pictures of how your results look like. Voila, we're going to start with the Madeleines. So before we start using our magic Thermomix, I'm going to tell you what you need in terms of ingredients, but don't worry, we are going to share the recipe at the end of the tutorial. So you will need some butter, some flour, baking powder, salt, some sugar, lemon rind, and also eggs. So for the lemon rind, since we're using the skin of the lemon, and usually lemon are sprayed with pesticides, I recommend that you use an organic lemon. So we're ready to go. So the first step, I'm going to melt my butter in the Thermomix. And what is really amazing with Thermomix is you control the temperature. So before I had a Thermomix, as I said, I love to cook, but then I made such a mess in my kitchen. I would take the butter, put it into a bowl, then cover it with a cling wrap, and then put it in the microwave. And half of the time I overcooked it, and then it was, exploding everywhere, making a mess. So now I would just put the butter in the bowl. Right? So it's nicely soft. I'm just gonna spread it evenly. Here you go. And then I'm going to set it for 2 minutes. 2 minutes at 40 degrees. And then I put the cover, and I'm going to start the speed at 1.5. And now we just have to wait. The next step, we will add the eggs together with the sugar and the lemon rind. So we wait nicely. So this is really, great because with Thermomix, like I said, you control the temperature. I like to also do the same with chocolate. You can melt your chocolate with precision. It's very important because if you don't have the right temperature, your chocolate will turn to be very, very hard, or and then it doesn't taste nice anymore, or it doesn't turn well in terms of texture of the dough. So that's the thing, when you have a Thermomix, you just have to wait for the machine to actually do the job and you get the great results. I'm going to mix my baking powder together with my flour. There we go. And you'll see, so the secret of the Madeleines lie in the resting time. So after the dough is made, we'll have to place the dough in a container and let it rest for about an hour at room temperature. It's very important if you want to have this hump effect. Otherwise, you may end up with flat Madeleines, and they would taste nice, but it's not exactly the same because the hump is very moist and it's also very cute. Okay, so our butter is melted, as you can see, very well, nicely melted. And now I'm going to add the sugar. So I try not to place it over the blades so it blends nicely. I'm going to add also my lemon rind, so the rind of 1 lemon, and my 2 eggs. And I'm going to blend 30 seconds at speed 3. So perfect. I'm going to add my flour and baking powder, and then give it another whisk, this time 45 seconds. Speed 3.5. So it's ready. I'm just gonna stir a little bit of the flour, scrape the edges, and then I'll add the salt, and I'll give it last whisk, 10 seconds. 3.5. So to make sure everything is blending in nicely. And voila, it's ready. Beautiful, nice dough. You can see it's very creamy, and we can see the lemon rind. So this has to rest for an hour, room temperature. Do not put it in the fridge, and then we'll see how it goes. So after 1 hour, it will be a little bit more, it have more body, a little bit more fluffy, but it's not like a bread that's going to expand a lot, right? That's it. So I'll get it in a bowl. So my dough for the Madeleine has been resting for about an hour, and now I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to fill my Madeleine tray. So the secret of the hump of the Madeleine is the resting time. So you need to let it rest for about an hour at room temperature. And I'm going to fill it up. So I'm going to use today a Madeleine tray for the normal size Madeleines. So I'm going to scoop some of the dough in the tray, and I'm going to make sure that I don't over fill it. So I'm going to fill it to about 3/4, because if I fill it too much, it's going to overflow as it's baking. Straight. I mean, it's easier to put it in the oven. There you go. I think we should be fine. This is a little bit too filled up. So now I'm going to bake them at 210 degrees, so it's a high temperature for 8 to 10 minutes. And then after that, I will reduce the temperature to 180 for about 3 minutes. And we should see the hump showing up in mid-baking. So I'm going to put them in the oven. So I've removed the dough, and now I'm going to show you the pre-clean function of the Thermomix. It's really great. So I'm going to add some water, about a liter, in the bowl. And then I'll add 1 pump of dishwashing liquid. Secure the lid and put it on the machine. And then I'll go to the pre-clean function. And then I'll just turn to the dough function, and then it's going to clean the dough that it's, in excess, and it will be very clean. It's actually a fantastic option. I really like it because sometimes it's difficult to remove some parts of the, ingredients or the food that you've cooked. And this one really helps to clear, a bit like a dishwasher. The Thermomix has its own dishwasher. So now my pre-cleaning is done, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to pour the water out and show you how clean it is. And so I can clear the water. Oh wow, you can actually see how clean it is. So it makes it easier for me to wash my bowl and prepare it for the next recipe. So I'm just going to give it a rinse, but it's actually really clean. So now my bowl is clean, and I'm going to start my second recipe of the cannelé. So for this recipe, we will need some full cream butter, milk. We will need some rum, eggs. So we'll have 1 egg and 2 egg yolks, some sugar, flour, some butter, and a vanilla pod. So I've actually scraped the vanilla pod. I've cut it in lengthwise and scraped out the beans, but I will still keep the skin of the pods, and I'll show you what I'll do with it. So for the cannelé, we need to use alcohol, and if you don't want to use alcohol, you will not achieve the same taste because this recipe is mainly based on the content of rum. But as you bake it, the alcohol will evaporate and you will only remain with the flavor and the taste. So you can opt out, but you will not get exactly the same taste. Okay, so we are ready. So we are going to start by boiling the milk because we need to have very, very hot milk. So I'm going to pour it in my machine, and I'm going to add the beans, the seeds of the vanilla pod. I keep the skin for later. Okay, so now I've poured the milk and I'm going to boil it. So we are going to do it for 8 minutes. 8 minutes at 98 degrees. 98 degrees is just before the boiling point of milk because we don't want it to overflow, and it's going to be on speed 1.5. And we'll prepare the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to mix together the flour and the sugar because we are going to put them together in the Thermomix bowl. Okay? I just want them to be a little bit mixed together. So I have a bit of butter to put, I'm going to put it as the milk boils. We put the butter go. And we have a little bit more of extra butter for, you know, spreading over the cannelé mold. So it's ready. Wow, the milk is really hot. Okay, so we are going to go to the next phase. We are going to put the eggs inside. So now I'm going to set 20 seconds. Okay. I'm going to remove the lid and I will start to spin at 3.5 and I will pour the eggs inside the hot milk for 20 seconds. All right. Now I'm going to add the flour and the sugar together. So I'm going to set for 1 minute. Another 3.5. And as it stirs, I'm adding the mixture 1 spoon at a time. So we still have 16 seconds. There you go. So I'm going to show you how it looks like. The dough has a very nice texture. It's kind of thick. All right. It smells of vanilla, but it still lacks the final flavor. So I'm going to put back my bowl. And the last step, I'm going to set for 10 seconds prepare my rum. And for 3.5, I'm gonna mix my rum in. And that's ready. That's perfect. Oh, it smells really, really nice. It smells really of a mix of rum and vanilla. Very nice texture. Okay. Now I'm going to pour this in a thermos server. Oh, look at the texture, it's beautiful. So it's very, very important to let the dough rest for a long time, overnight. And we are going to keep it in the fridge. So first you let it cool down, and when it's cool, you put it in the fridge overnight, minimum 12 hours, more if you want. And the more, the better, because it will really enhance the flavor. And then after that, we'll be ready to scoop them into the cannelé mold and then to bake them. So you remember earlier I told you that we would keep the skin of the vanilla pods. So we're gonna dip them inside the dough. And then we will leave it to macerate together with the dough overnight for 12 hours, minimum in the fridge. First we let it cool down, then we put it in the fridge, and then tomorrow we can start to bake our cannelés. So I've taken the dough out of the fridge and I've let it warm up at room temperature. So with the cannelé, it's very important to let the dough rest for at least 12 hours. This is when the vanilla and the rum are going to diffuse the aroma, and longer is better. So minimum 12 hours, so overnight. You can go up to 24 hours without a problem. And you let it, when you take it out of the fridge, it's going to be cold, so we let it, warm up to room temperature. And before I'm going to fill up my cannelé mold, I'm going to stir my, whisk my dough for a while to make sure that everything blends in again. All right, so you can see I still have the vanilla pods here, and I have a lot of vanilla seeds everywhere. It's beautiful, and you cannot smell, but it smells divine. It smells of rum, really nice. So I'm going to use a silicone cannelé mold, but originally cannelé molds are made of copper. So they are in metal, they warm up very well, and they actually bake the cannelé very well. They give them very nice brown colors. So I don't have any, so I'm using silicone. It's actually really good. Before putting the dough, I'm going to put a little bit of butter in my mold. Usually silicone doesn't require that, but for the cannelé, because we want them to brown, to change color, I'm going to put a little bit of butter. So you can just use your fingers and put some butter. Okay, and I'm going to stir my dough, whisk it, to make sure that the aroma is well spread, evenly spread, because it's been staying in the fridge for a while. And then I'm going to fill up the mold. So I'm going to fill up the mold to about 3/4, because as we will start to bake, we are going to start to bake for about 20 minutes at very high temperature, about between 210 and 230 degrees. And after 20 minutes, we are going to reduce the temperature. You have to know that cannelé take a very long time to bake, okay? About an hour and a half, and sometimes even longer, depending on your oven and, depending on how you like them. If you want them darker, don't be afraid to let them a little bit longer in the oven. So what happens is that cannelés are very crunchy and crusty on the outside with a nice brownish color. It's because of the sugar that it contains, caramelized. And if you want them, and inside they are very moist. They're supposed to be moist. Yeah, I think we're all set here, So what is really difficult with the cannelé is not really the preparation, especially with the Thermomix. It's like so easy, but it's mainly the baking and how much time you need to leave it in the oven. It really depends on your oven as well. So you have to test and see how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up, and then we are going to put it in the oven. So between 210 and 230 degrees for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you lower the temperature to about 180, and then we leave it for about an hour. You check in towards the end of the baking time, and if you want to have them darker, then you just leave it in the oven a bit more. Okay, so see you later. So today I've baked 2 batches. Beautiful madeleines. You can see the hump is really, really nice. They look like little boats. So it means that the baking was very successful, right temperature and also the resting time. And I've also made 2 batches, actually 3 batches of cannelé. I made mini cannelés. They're really cute. Okay, they're like bite-sized. And then I made different, cooking times of the cannelé. Just to show you, these are more blonde, these are darker, so they are crunchier on the outside, and they are, you notice, a little bit, smaller, because after a certain time they will shrink down in the oven. So they are, the sugar gives this nice, brownish color because it caramelizes. This will be a little bit more moist in the outside and in the inside, and this one will be a bit more crunchy on the outside. So let's start the plating. So I have a beautiful plate, and we're going to start with our madeleines. go. And we'll be ready for tea. And we are done. So I'm gonna put this aside, and this is our beautiful Madeleines and Cannelé. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial tonight, and don't forget to like and share. Invite your friends to watch together. I hope you enjoyed traveling to France today, because we can't travel, but with Thermomix, fortunately, we can have all kinds of different cuisine. You can go from France to Indonesia, China, Greece. It's wonderful. That's what I like about Thermomix. I can do all kinds of different cuisine, and also I control what I put in my food, and it's wonderful. There are so many recipes in cookie dough that you will never get out of ideas to cook. So don't forget to share whatever you've done following the recipes tonight, and I hope to see you soon. Au revoir, à bientôt!